Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon. This is Indie Comics Explained, and tonight is another Everyone panel where I have a bunch of different guests coming on, and we're going to talk about comics. But first, please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. And currently on Indiegogo, the Oswald Chronicles. So these are the 3 books currently being offered. And, go check it out. It's in the links below. All right, we got another person coming. All right, cool. All right, so let's start with persona number 1. Here we go, Mr. Randy Zimmerman. Please introduce yourself.
Will the secret guest come in and sign in, please? Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Randy Zimmerman. I am an alternative and independent comics creator, editor, whatever, self-publisher, done it all. I've been a retailer for years, or had been a retailer for years. Not a retailer now. I'm a commercial artist. I'm a graphic artist. I do a lot of commercial work, sequential artwork for advertising and education purposes because it pays a little bit better in the mainstream. And I'm just here talking comics. I'm part of the Indie Volt podcast network. So I'm happy to be here with JD and everybody else. JD and
there you go.
John and everybody else.
Mr. Rosario, please.
Senor. My name is JD Rosario. I do not have the history in self-publishing that these 2 gentlemen before me have. I've been doing this, though, for 12 years out of my little apartment here in New York City and grinding it out. Too stubborn to give up and finding new ways to reach not the direct market, but to go direct to consumer and try to keep this thing going.
That's not your office, JD. That's your world headquarters.
There you go.
Worldwide.
We're joined by Mr. John Celestri. How are you, John? Please introduce yourself.
I'm John Celestri, John the animator guy. I've been a professional 2D animator, traditional animator for 45 years. I animated Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, Rock and Rule, E-Man, She-Ra, and Batman commercials. And I've also been a comic book artist for a very, very long time. Everything I know, I'm pouring into now my own line of comic books from ages 4 all the way up to 104. That's all ages completely. But the mature line is not for everybody else. It's you got to pass 17 and older for that. So I'm here to talk comics and about how to reach people. That's the age-old question. How do you reach them?
Always.
I love watching the expression on people's faces when John introduces himself and they haven't met John before because they get that
Yeah.
look on their
Hell
face.
yeah.
And I had the same reaction. The first time I met John was this stunned look, and then we start talking, and he goes, anytime you've played Space Ace or Dragon's Lair and you've died, that's probably my work. It's like, you're awesome.
You killed me so many times, John.
Yeah.
I just want to thank him for.
I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'll make the sign of the cross, and I apologize.
Oh, we're not saying that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
No.
So here we go, Mr. James Rodriguez. How you doing, bro? Long time no see.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? I hope you can hear me. Hope my mic is working correctly.
James, what's up, buddy?
How's it going? I am James Rodriguez. I've known JD since high school.
We're sorry.
So I know. So we go back a long ways. I've been a storyboard artist. I've worked in art advertising. I've been an art director, even directed a music video back in the day. And I'm currently a artist for Upper Deck. I've done the 5th set for Marvel, the Marvel Masterpieces for 2020.
Nice.
And I'm currently also working on my own title, which I've been working on for a couple of years now. JD knows about it. It's now entitled Sarah of Earth, which is a Latina character I've been wanting to introduce for a long time. And currently just here to also talk about, like as you said, how to reach a mass audience for yourself and your brand. And also just a quick little shout out to my wife and kids who are watching right now. So because they've never seen me on video before.
Awesome.
To Neo, Ania, and my wife Mitzi, how's it going? So you, JD, you can have fans in the Philippines from this point on.
Awesome.
I've worked with a few artists from there, so cool.
Yeah, no, very cool. And other than that, the one thing, like, I want to also tell John, since I didn't meet you till tonight, thank you for bringing Boba Fett to life, because actually Boba the highlight of the holiday special was the animated sequence, because Lord knows that holiday special is a nightmare to get through.
Well, it was a nightmare for me to see it on the screen, on the only time it was broadcast on live on TV, and I was oh my Lord, I was thinking, I hope people will stay until the midpoint of the thing to see the cartoon, because I had no idea. It was very cold. It was a December, November night in Toronto, in my basement apartment. The snow was coming down, and I'm thinking, why am I here? And if this doesn't work, oh, geez. And so that's like 42 years ago.
No. I mean, listen, I saw that the second it came out, because I remember seeing the TV guide, and it mentioned, it was like, oh, I got to watch this. So I was watching it. I was I was like 7, 8 years old, looking at it, thinking, is this Star Wars?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like I said, the highlight for me was the whole animated sequence. That was it. And I mean, I do have a copy of it. I can't get through it without the riff tracks.
Yes.
So riff tracks is the only way I can get myself through that special.
I have a question here, though. At 45 years old, am I the youngest guy in the room? I'm not used to that, if that's the case here.
Yes, you probably are. I am 49, to give you an idea. So thankfully I don't look my age. At least that's what people tell me.
I'm excited. I'm not recently. I haven't been in that position, so I'm taking it. You know.
Okay. Yeah. You're a youngin.
Yeah, you're a youngin.
Yeah.
Hey, you could be my son.
I know that old voice there. I love it.
Although you are older than my younger brother, so that's
He's not here, James. He's not here, pal.
I've got pants older than we had a guy on our show that was 15 years old. And I'm thinking, I got pants older than you.
Oh man. I had a guy at the post office I used to work with, and he was at the station for over 50 years. He would say, I got more time in the bathroom than you do a lot.
It says, hey, I don't want to know about your constitution, my friend. That seems like a personal problem.
Yeah.
True. All right, so Mr. JD, as the host of this thing, how should we begin?
Well, actually, we're going to begin in a moment, but I want to say, James, when I met you, were you 15?
Probably. I think I met you what? This, I guess, my junior year or my sophomore year? I forget.
In high school, yeah.
I forget. Yeah. I mean, you were already with Daphne already. I mean, I knew Daphne from class. Right. And I met you. I think she invited us to meet with you guys. I mean, with you and Matt and the other guys at that little space near the City Corp building. Yeah. It was right there. So yeah, and actually, I think I still have one of Daphne's pages that she asked me to color. I still have the page in my files.
Oh yeah,
you'll get that to her one of these days, I'm sure.
Yeah. Eventually.
It's on the list.
It'll still be a black and white. That's the funniest thing.
Actually, I never had a chance to color it.
Oh, there you go. That's why you still got it. I knew it.
Now we're joined by Mr. Louis M. Cruz. How are you, Mr. Louis?
How you doing? How's it going?
I'm good.
Hey,
Louis, what's up, brother?
What's good,
Luis?
Everything's good.
Luis, how's it going, man?
James, how you doing?
Hey, man, I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going?
How you been?
Busy. The day job's killing me.
Louis is a funny guy.
What's good, JD?
What's up, brother? I don't know if you guys, how many guys
I'm
know
sorry,
Lewis?
Calderon. I'm sorry, Mr. Calderon. How you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And
You know,
Jay,
can we just
I'm sorry.
I'll change my name to Jay. We just refer to myself as Jay for the rest of the night.
Yeah. What's good, Jay?
All right. So Lewis, this is Randy, and that's John. So John,
How you guys doing?
Hi, Luis.
How
Randy.
you doing?
All right. So Lewis, introduce yourself.
My name is Louis Cruz. I'm the creator and writer of Jennifer the She-Wolf, and I've also done 2 novels, The Day They Made Contact and Fuel of Life, published by Darkfire Press.
Nice.
Nice.
Good.
And I'm also physically handicapped, and I do everything, no disrespect, with my mouth.
Oh,
Jay, don't say nothing, Jay.
I'm not going to say nothing, brother. Not going to
man.
say nothing.
Yeah, man, you're more capable than most guys I know.
Hell yeah.
So,
Exactly.
Hell
Seriously.
Thank you.
You know, you're out there. You're banging.
especially since I also do I do a political podcast with a friend of mine at work. I've gotten quite the face full of how should I put it, Trump lovers now and again. So especially at work, we're a very liberal-minded store. So yeah, we've gotten a couple of run-ins.
If you want to get rid of friends, just mention Trump.
Actually, no. At our store, we sell Trump toilet paper with his face on it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
it sells pretty well too, actually.
I'm sure.
But it does.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how does it work?
Just roll it down the wet, and then you wipe your ass with them.
I think Randy explained earlier, we don't speak about anybody's morning constitutional process.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get that over.
If you don't know how toilet paper works, you may have a problem.
Exactly.
So,
All right. So guys, let's start up. So I mean, so one of the things I actually want to ask all you guys all come from comics. You're a diverse group. We don't have distribution at the moment.
no.
Cons are pretty much not around. We'll be lucky if we'll see him in 2022, right? Or maybe late 2021.
They've been saying that the possibility of a con, at least the cons that we're familiar with, even like a small show, probably ain't gonna happen until maybe summer, possibly.
I'm thinking more fall.
I don't know if you guys know, I ran a con with a partnership last year in January. We were one of the last conventions to run.
PowCon, yeah.
Right. And
I was there.
We're not looking at it. We're not looking at it for a while. It's not even part of the table discussion at all.
I mean, the sad thing is, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
So here's the thing. So outside of conventions and Kickstarter and Indiegogo, where are you selling your books?
Who wants to go first?
Well,
we'll start with Randy.
I can start first. I ain't selling them anywhere. I'm working on a crowdfunding book. I'm doing commercial artwork on the side, and when hopefully I'll be up and running in time to do a crowd with the anthology we're doing. We're starting in January. That's going to be my first plowing into crowdfunding. But then after that, when the book I'm working on now is done, that's when I'll have something to sell. In the meantime, my back stock still sits here. If somebody wants to contact me, you're more than welcome to. I got stuff I can ship to you.
Gotcha. So before we continue, we got Meredith Logren in. Meredith, how are you?
hello, Meredith.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
So Meredith, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, sure. I am Meredith Lochran. I am the associate editor over at Geek Insider, as well as the executive producer of the Geek Insider podcast. I'm one of the founding 5 at Terraform Comics, and we are working on Continuum, which is an anthology series. And I am actually working on my very first comic, and I actually sent Randy a script. So
Congratulations.
Keep him busy. Keep him busy.
Good.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. All right. So Mr. J.
Yes.
So go ahead. What's where are you selling books currently? Like, how are you getting your stuff out there?
Conventions were it. Conventions were 75% of where I generated my revenue from. I was going up and down from Boston all the way down to Puerto Rico, and as far as Chicago, setting up shop, whatever I can drive to. And I had family or friends where I could crash to lower my costs. Now that that's not going on, I'm scrambling, right? We got the website, we got the crowdfunding sites, digital on drive-through comics. Try to upload so many things to Comixology, but it's just like, blah, you follow their specs and you hit their specs and you're still not going through. And it's just like, why not? Is it worth spending the time to convert, the catalog I've got of over 40 something books and the 4 graphic novels? It's not 1, 2, 3. So Comixology is not even on the plate right now. And that's been pretty much it. Spending quite a bit on Facebook ads, Instagram ads. Twitter ads is not. I don't find it as viable. It's not worth the juice that you squeeze out of it. You get more bang for your buck out of Facebook ads, and that's helping. But New York Comic Con, that's backyard for me, right? That is that's my biggest thing. That's my Super Bowl weekend, and we come out of there with good money enough to fund 4 books out of the year, what we make, and I'm scrambling. I'm hurting.
No, totally. I mean, the economy right now is not going to be great for anybody, at least for a good long while.
Yeah.
I mean, for myself, I don't have a book out yet. I mean, I've had books out before that are been like low production count. I've been mostly been on Instagram for the most part, occasionally on Facebook. But IG has been pretty much my source for promoting my work, stuff I've done for Upper Deck, and promoting Sarah a little bit. And I mean, during the whole lockdown, at least in New York, I did as much as I possibly could, besides taking care of my folks, to promote whatever I got going on, just to get some revenue in. So I was able to get some commissions and things like that. And currently, I'm working on a commission right now for a customer. But that's been pretty much my main thing. I mean, at this point, I've even started debating about just posting. I mean, I've seen a couple of guys on IG do this, where they post like a page a day. I mean, like they kind of did that back in the day with Facebook, or early on. They used to do that stuff and just get the stuff out there to people to see it. And hopefully build enough of an audience that once you have enough people who like what you're doing, that you want to do like let's say a Kickstarter or even an Indiegogo for a compilation of the books, that would be a way to generate some revenue. But right now, at least in my case, it's more about just keeping my name out there, letting people see what I'm working on. And even when I was visiting my wife and kids in the Philippines, I posted up what I was working on and everything, just to keep the thing going. So, I mean, that's on my end. Once I get the book done, I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. I'll see what happens. But cons is definitely something that I definitely miss, and definitely help out a lot, man. I definitely feel your pain, man, because PowCon was the last show I did. Yeah. And it was pretty good overall. But after that, it was like once the pandemic hit, it was like Jesus. It killed everything.
Yeah.
All right, we got another guest, and we got Joe, or at least the person who mugged Joe and took his phone so he can get on.
Yeah, I got the time zone mixed up again. I was thinking 8 o'clock Central, and then I saw it on YouTube that you guys started. I was like, oh crap, let me finish up my business here and head back to the house. So I was like, oh, wait a second, I could join for the phone.
Yeah. So I'm here. Good, man. It's all good, man. Nothing wrong with being at a rally. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly. Right. All right. So Joe, just give me a minute. So Louis, how do you get your stuff out there these days?
Instagram, Facebook, because I don't even have a website. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Right.
And that's about it. But I do have a question. Why hasn't anybody thought about doing, maybe not now because it's cold, but in spring or winter or in the summer, a con outside?
Yeah. I can answer that later.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
You want to get through the opening introductions, but Yeah, we got something working on that.
Cool.
I was speaking about earlier in the week.
All right.
Definitely know about that.
Yeah.
Although
Hey,
actually,
Jay,
funny,
I always tell you this, Jay, but don't forget about me, and you always do.
No, trust me, I don't. You're the only guy that I've ever seen had
Yeah,
Todd
people, bro, I
McFarlane
think.
ride around New York Comic Con on his wheelchair. You had Todd
Yeah,
McFarlane on your lap, dude.
Yeah, he has, yeah.
Now,
Actually,
if you could get
Actually-
time before to ride your lap to Jay's show, now that would be something.
that's true.
He didn't ride my lap. He just got on the wheelchair and drove around. But
Actually, Lewis, there's something actually that kind of struck a chord with when you said that. I was looking at, at least where I live in East Elmhurst, Queens. So Junction Boulevard is always like full of people for like selling the tables, selling masks and what have you. I asked a couple of people there if they need to get a license to have a table there. Apparently, you don't. As long as
Yes,
it's
you do.
As long as you
No,
No,
you do,
at least these guys. No, I know. In certain places, you're right. I know around Washington Square Park, you definitely do.
No,
Yeah,
this
I
is
think
New
I-
York City, brother. That can
You have to be
street vendor
very
permits.
mobile.
Yeah, street
True,
vendor permits.
true.
No, unless it's paper goods like comics. Yeah, you
Right.
can get away with that because literature you don't need a permit for. But
Right,
any
right.
other tangible goods in New York City, brother, you need.
No, you're
a
probably
permit.
right.
Do they leave?
You're probably
They
right.
leave them alone because it's more of a headache than anything else. But if
Right.
their supervisors are on their ass, then they got to clean up, bro. I've seen sanitation just roll up on sidewalks and tell people if they don't move their goods within 30 minutes, stuff is getting junked, and that's from everywhere by Jamaica Avenue,
Mhm.
Canal Street, Washington
Yeah.
Heights. Dude, I've seen it happen, bro. Seen it.
Okay, no.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
probably definitely right about that.
and the Bronx
Right,
and
guys, hold
Florida,
on.
you can get away with that a little bit.
Right.
Hold on,
if
hold
you're
on,
lucky.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. Let's get back on topic.
Yeah, sorry.
So, John, where
Jason.
are you selling your stuff outside of Kickstarter and Indiegogo?
Well, right now, no place. First of all, I can't do any outdoor in Kentucky. That's where I live. I mean,
Right.
you've got your horse park. It's really not. There's not a lot of street traffic.
Right.
So I'm in the process of at least trying to. First of all, my whole thing is to get people to know who I am. So the Kickstarters and the Indiegogos, at least I say, okay, I've done this, and you got to start. You can at least see the comics that I've created and crowdfunded. I promote on Facebook and Twitter, and such. I think that for me, since I've pretty much sold the stock that I have, I only have samples, left. I didn't overprint. I just have enough to say, okay, this is what I've got. Actually, what I'm doing right now is doing PDFs through Indiegogo, and that way I'm doing the equivalent of floppies, 28 page for $2. That way people could get to see who I am, what I do, and one thing, and I'll do it I'll put up a new for this mature item series, Bloodwing. I'll do a 24-page book every quarterly. That way people can get to see what I'm doing and then build the name up so that when the times get a little better, then I can start, offering, the whole thing. But once again, where are we going to be? I mean, the comic book stores, where are you going to go for that? Okay, if you're trying to get in, I mean, Peter Samedi with his Alterna, distribution, he has his website and he's taking on people, other publishers, and seeing what if he feels he could sell something, he will give you the same kind of deal that you would get with I was going to say Amazon with Diamond, yeah, that sort of thing. So I mean that's one way, but once they sell direct.
Right.
He goes to the stores, but he also sells direct to the audience. And right now, because of his circumstances, he's the one has got a better, not a lock, but he has a better avenue and pipeline to to followers than most everybody else does, unless you've got a really good, email list. So,
Well, John, just to piggyback on you, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be more worthwhile to us as self-publishers, self-promoters, to do that on our own? I mean, within his catalog, you're falling down the pages, and you still have to promote. Whereas,
right. Yeah.
I am within this person's catalog.
Yeah.
Pick me up, and your margins are smaller.
Yeah.
Right. I'm guessing you're a one-man show, right?
Oh, yeah.
See, somebody like me, I'm not, right? I have to hire out the freelancers. So, piggybacking onto his platform just brings my margin down, and there's less to spread amongst the guys and the ladies that work with me. So, direct to consumer is where these crowdfunding platforms, I think, are the most beneficial to us.
Yes, they are. But again, JD's thing is, the question is, besides that.
Oh,
besides
okay. Yes.
What is it that you can? Where else can you go? And until there is an understanding of what the financial circumstances is, because I bet the average comic book reader has been decimated financially.
Yes.
In terms of that. I mean, that is the big thing. These are not people. Most people who read comics are not looking to spend money on a yacht somewhere. Right. They're all trying to, they're like us, and that's why we can connect with them. So I think until we understand where the finances are going, where people can feel more financially secure, we won't know what they're going to do. So I guess our issue right now is, what can we offer that it's even, everybody's got a website. Everybody can at least put something up, right? Like, Jay, you've got yours, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I don't know what kind of numbers you can get, but for you, it's the cost of doing business, and everything else is you take everything else out of that price. So you're getting every dollar out of that.
Right. Well, minus whatever fees, transaction fees. But
right.
The
but what
majority.
I'm saying, you're not having to, other than the printing cost, you're not having to give automatically 60% to a distributor.
Correct. I do.
You don't have to do any of that.
Right.
So,
well, you got to remember, the reason you use a distributor is to get numbers. You understand? So that would make up for not getting that extra cash.
Yeah.
If you can sell, I don't know what Peter's numbers look like, but let's say if you can sell, Joe's on the subway, I like it. But if you can sell
City Bus.
If you can sell 300 copies of something, right?
Yeah.
That might, make you enough money. Whereas if you sold, 100 copies on your own, you understand? But that's if he can take that bulk number. 300 copies is not a lot. You really want 1,000 copies or a couple thousand copies. That's when you really make money.
Yeah, but how many people have 1,000? Yeah. Can hit 1,000?
No. But he's spreading it out amongst 100, 200, 300 stores.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. But all I'm saying is that when you don't even know how many stores you have that are going to be opening, I'm thinking worst case scenario. At this point, what can people do to at least not have to depend upon that? Because it still boils down to, it takes you, if you've got to sell 300 copies is one thing, and you only have to sell 100 copies, that's something else. Sometimes it's you're looking for the person who really wants you.
Right.
You don't have to sell this. You're not selling to the reader. You're selling to the store.
Right.
True.
And you have another gatekeeper in the way.
Sometimes, sometimes that's the case. Hold on. We got another guest in. Odin, how you doing, brother?
Hi.
What's up,
What's
guys? How we doing?
We're good.
What's up,
Odin.
Odin?
Michael, just doing
I'm Mike Loden, creator writer of Elysian Fields. I hang out with JD every now and again, and I'm frequently on Indie Vault, as Randy knows, because I constantly pester him for links. So that's me.
All right, cool. So actually, let's move on. Meredith, I don't know if you heard the question originally. It's basically where do you sell your product now that we don't have conventions, right? And let's say if we removed IGG and Kickstarter, where do you sell your product?
Right now, so my world is more in prose, and so I've got a few books that are in development. And so speaking to, is it Louis or Lewis? Who's above
Louis or
me?
Louis?
Is it
Louis
Louis?
or Louis? Louis.
Okay, yeah. So, you said that you didn't have a website, but like the poor man's way of doing it is actually putting together like a link tree. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but if you look up, if you look up link tree, it's a centralized location where you can put all of your links, including your store, if you've got one. For me, again, I don't have a product right now to sell, but I am very shortly. So I've got a book that's up for pre-order on Amazon, and I'm actually going to kickstart that because it ties into the comic book people. So I'm trying to bring the prose with the comic book world kind of together. That is my world. Having said that, networking is so important.
Yes.
So if you've got friends who have a website, why not have a friends page where you have their profile picture with a backlink to their store?
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy, and that doesn't cost anything. And the networking opportunities for everybody's reach to discover new people, that isn't hard to do. You're not putting together a store for them, because you don't want to have to worry about the distribution, but by having a backlink, not only does it help their search algorithms, it helps your networking opportunities.
No, absolutely.
Thank you.
I mean, sorry, let me interrupt. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you. I'm looking into that.
Yeah. That's why I invited Meredith. She's smart.
I do marketing. And I also build websites. So
very cool.
Well, only slightly in her purview.
Exactly. I mean, the only other thing I do is, I always tell a lot of people who stop on my table and everything. I always tell them, always have a business card on you because you never know who you're going to run into. I mean, at the store, I talk to customers who look at books and everything else. I just start talking, just like this funny chat. Sometimes I'm getting interested in stuff I do. I give them a card. Occasionally, I get commissions from that. I've gone to events before that have nothing to do with comics because you don't know who you're going to run into. Because my philosophy is, even if you give a card to somebody who may not use your skill set, they might know someone who does.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have that in the back of their minds. And right now, as compared to like when JD and I were in high school or college, at this point, there's no excuse not to have an IG page or a Facebook page. You have to have your stuff out there on some level for people to see what you're doing. Even if it's not like exactly a website. I mean, these are technically free websites for yourself. I mean, Instagram is the Twitter for artists, pretty much. As long as you post something up on a daily schedule, a weekly schedule, you should be fine. You get enough people to follow you. And
can I piggyback on you there, James, for a second?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If we can use the Field of Dreams analogy, if you build it, they'll come, right? Dude, it's the opposite, I think, with comics. I got a newsletter of over 7,000 people, right? My open rates are less than 10%. My click rates are less than 2%. I've got a Facebook fan page with over 6,000 people following me there, right? And yet I'll have more interaction on my personal Facebook page as opposed to my group specified Facebook page. My Instagram page, I've got 2 separate accounts, right? Over 800 people on each account, or 8 on one, 6 on another, something like that. Okay. Dude, if I get 5 or 6 people to hit that like button on one of those platforms, it's like, woo! You know, so just because we build it, just because we put it out there, and Meredith, not knocking what you said. You've got the experience. I don't, right? But I would have to tell somebody, hey, I'm on this person's, affiliate page. I'm on their backlink and stuff like that. So I still have to put in the legwork to make someone aware of me and my presence on their channel, right?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Okay.
Because the purpose of the backlink actually is to the more that you have, the higher up you rank on the search engines. So you don't have to promote yourself on for somebody else's site. And in fact, the only reason why I sign up for all of the social media is because I want to lock in my username, not because I'm active there. So, when you have somebody who says you need to build up all of these social media sites, I'm sorry, unless you've got assistants doing that for you, nobody's got the time.
Right.
Especially
No way.
Yes. Especially if you want to create your work. So the bottom line of that is sign up, so that you get your username, so that nobody else is squatting on it. But the other thing is figure out where your audience is. So JD, you're saying you have all of these things. Where are they most interactive? And then pay more attention to there. Give the other stuff a pulse every once in a while. Give it a nudge to make sure it's still breathing. Okay. But if your audience isn't engaged, then you're wasting your time.
Yes.
You still want to grow it. You still want to say, hey, there's a pulse. Maybe drop it down instead of a couple times a week, maybe once a week, maybe once every other week for those things. Just to say, hey, I don't want to lose the followers that I've built up there, because that's a pain in the ass to build up any kind of social media. The problem is a lot of people think just because social media is out there and just because it's free, you build it and they will come. It won't. Right. The reason it's called social media is because you need to be social. True. And nobody has the time to do it well on all the platforms.
Right. And there's a lot of noise to get through. I mean, it's louder than it's ever been.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
everybody's doing it.
Right. To John's point, look at us all here. Right. So now hold on, guys. Joe, do you have an opinion? You're muted.
Yeah, I have an opinion. I'm just waiting for my name here. I'm not even certain how to answer that question, only because I am wearing marketing material right now, because this is a branded mask that I have for one of my IPs. So I'm just up here trying to follow what everybody's saying, because to me, if you don't have more than one revenue stream right now, you're already behind the schedule. You're already behind the times. And the reason why I say that is because, like, if your main revenue stream was conventions, then why haven't you jumped on board one of these digital platforms like Drive-Thru Comics or Comixology or something like that to handle the digital end until you're ready to take over yourself? If you need your own company website, at least with your company website, you could say, hey, if you're interested in our comics, here, email us or contact us through this address if you don't have the time to build up the e-commerce side of that website. See, myself, I have an e-commerce side to my website. I try to drive people to it because of the simple fact that it is easier for them to get the product directly from me, because I don't have access to Diamond. I don't have access to anybody that could do anything physical as far as distribution. And then when you get into that aspect of distribution, you're not doing direct sales, you're doing purchase orders. So that means that you're waiting for somebody, some store or some other entity to say, hey, we need 50, 100 copies of these issues. You fulfill that order and you're still waiting to get paid afterwards, because you have to give the distributor their cut, and then after they take their cut, you're still waiting for the check from the distributor. And the reason you're waiting is because you have to make certain that those sales are accurate. So while you're waiting for that, you might as well try to bring people back to your e-commerce site, or where you have like your digital platform, where it's your Comixology or Drive-Thru Comics or whatever you have. It can even be Big Cartel. Big Cartel, is more of a direct interface between you and your customer than Comixology or something like that. But it's just
is it-
always. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead
I
with
was
the question.
No, I was going to go back to the purchase order thing and spending more time working on that.
Yep.
And is it in this climate worth it to get into to push into the local comic shops when they don't even have the foot traffic that they used to?
True.
Right.
Just a question. I'm not.
And I think
I mean-
that's a
Well, here's a better way to look at that question here.
Okay.
But to answer that question, I would say, would the brick and mortar store be my only line of revenue? If the answer
course
is
not.
no, if the answer is no, then yes, it could be valuable for in the bigger scheme of things. Would I rush into doing it right away? Probably not.
No.
If I made a bigger name for myself and I see that there's a greater push for me to get into certain stores, I will go ahead and do it in a heartbeat. But for right now, I wouldn't rush to go to a Diamond or some of these other distributors right away, unless they cut me
No.
some type of deal. Unless they cut me
Right.
some type of deal,
But
it
they're
doesn't make
not.
sense.
They're not.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot
And
of
then
you
on top
guys-
of that, you don't need the distributor. As long as you have a list of comic book stores that you can, and as long as you have a list of comic book stores that can, that you can deal with directly, and they can order from you directly, you cut out that middleman.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, the one thing that does cost you will be like maybe just the shipping to get the stuff over to them. But it's definitely like it's also you build a better relationship with the stores you're working with. They know that you're reliable. They know that your product does well, and you can deal with them, make some deals and everything down the line. I mean, look at what DC did with like leaving Diamond and everything.
Yeah, but that. Hold on, but James.
I mean, granted,
That's a-
it's
DC is a
a
whole
different
nother-
animal.
Yeah.
It's a different
Yeah.
animal. True. It's a different animal.
That you have to understand the history behind that decision.
True.
Right.
It's a whole different issue. But there are other ways to distribute the stuff, as you said, And now, I mean, it's probably not a bad idea to just approach stores directly. I remember, I think Paris Collins told me about getting this thing called the Master List. It has like names and links for majority of almost all comic stores in the country.
There's a group right now on Facebook. They call it Plan C Distribution, and it's a bunch of small shops that are willing to deal with the independent guys. But I can order 50%. I can give them 50% off of cover, free shipping. Okay, point of sale merchandise like buttons, posters, shirts, anything to make our stuff stand out on their shelves, and they're still not biting. Right? They'll say,
yeah, and
that's
that's what I was even going to go into.
Okay.
Because like this is my whole thing is that I'm relatively new to the game. One of the things that I have quickly found out is that despite a lot of people at these stores claiming to be, oh yeah, we're indie friendly, we want to support local talent. The moment that you try to go into their stores and pitch your stuff, a lot of them don't take it seriously. Because if you're not on that, if you're not on that Diamond list, they don't give a shit.
I mean, there are a few. I'm not going to say all of them are like that.
And it's not a slam on all these guys. I know that there are certain stores that will, but like the fact of the matter is that they're few and far between.
Yes,
most of these stores, they're literally just saying this because it sounds good, but none of them have the guts to actually pull the trigger on it because they're afraid of the ramifications of what that will bring and how that will look to Diamond Overlords. It's just how it is. These people have had this industry kind of press down them this entire time because Diamond has been telling them what to buy and what have you.
I don't think it's just that. I also think it's because, the majority of them will only do it on consignment. And if they got to pay for your books up front, they don't want their finances to be tied up in something where they can make a quicker buck selling some of the bigger titles. And that's understandable.
It's not about buying the book up front. It's more about cutting the check after it sells.
Yeah,
that's part of the major problem with consignments. A lot of these smaller stores do not want to cut that check or delve out that cash that's due to the creator.
Right. But I would even give them a bigger cut. Forget about the 50% off cover. I'll give you 65% off a cover. You know what? Place 10 books by the register on consignment. If they don't sell by the end of the week, you've lost nothing. And they still won't do that. And trying to get into shops is like pulling teeth. It's a waste of time.
Let me pose a better question for you, because if we're going to go this route, and this is the question that you really need to think about. Let's not think about the store itself. Let's think about your fan base, your customer. How many of your customers going to that store? Do your customers know that you don't do signings at that store?
See, but that cannot be applied to stores across the nation, bro. It can't, right? I'm local.
I understand that. I understand that. You see, you're thinking diamond aspect, because I'm here in Chicago. I know. Oh, you're not?
No, I'm not thinking.
I'm about to tell you my experience here in Chicago dealing with consignments.
No, dude. All right.
A store would not get. No, I'm not in New York. I'm here in Chicago.
Right. I understand that.
The Midwest is a different animal than East Coast, and is a different animal than the West Coast. And
so when I
have to understand how each one of those markets.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Well, no. Wait a second, Jay. Yes. Hold on.
Okay.
So, Joe, finish your story.
All right.
Yeah, I'm about to say each coast has their own market, because here in the Midwest, if you try to get into a comic book store in the Midwest, you have to show them that your book can sell and that you could bring people in. A lot of times, I have to do several signings at that store and show them I could bring in, maybe 10, 15 new people that would normally not come into their store. They buy a product there, they will be more willing to have your book there because they see that you're bringing in customers. It's not about your book sale for the store. It's about how many customers are coming in through that door and buying. It doesn't matter about buying your book. They need to come in and buy something. Mm-hmm. That's here in the Midwest. I can't speak for any other coast, but here in the Midwest, that's how it is. That's how these brick and mortar stores operate. And you can't sit there and say, oh yeah, I could cut them this deal, cut them this deal, cut them this deal. Mm-hmm. If your book is not bringing in new customers to them, they don't care. The bottom line is they want sales. It doesn't matter about what it doesn't matter what type of deal. So you have to think about, will your customer come to these stores and pick up the book? If the answer is no, then why are you wasting your time? Because you know where your customers are going to go. You know where your customers buy your stuff at.
So I've got a background in selling beer. Selling beer is a hell of a lot easier than selling comic books, right? Mm-hmm. So I know about doing in-store promotions. Meredith, I apologize. I'm not trying to be, misogynistic or anything like that. But when we would sell beers, we'd get the models wearing tees, right? And we were not selling the beer. We were selling the attraction. So getting foot traction into a location, I know how to do that. I've done that. And without, the booth babes or the models, we get the cosplayers. So that's something I've done here. I can bring foot traffic into stores. I have done it with sales. I have done it in many promotions when I would launch books. Doesn't guarantee me permanently being in those stores, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think you missed the point there. It's not the one time. It's not the one time that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the one time. This is the big spectacle that you're bringing.
You want the repeat customers to come back, of course.
So Joe, James, Jay, hold on for a second. Hold on.
Okay.
Michael, I want to give you your time. I mean, what do you think about this? Like, I know you said a few things about it, but like, how do you feel about trying to get your work? Not just stores, but I mean, like, what other avenues are you trying to use other than Kickstarter and IGG?
So that's something that I'm honestly trying to figure out, because I for a long time when I had first started, I thought that the big thing that I needed to do was get into stores, and then I went around my local stores, people that were supposed to be pretty local, creator friendly, and what have you. And got nowhere, whether it was because of COVID or because this, that, the other. And it became very clear that with the current market, going to a store, honestly, as an indie guy, you have a lot of these stores that are only doing like deliveries right now,
Mhm.
you know, to limit man hours and to just keep the doors open. So you're not like, it's not like anybody's going to be walking through their store to see
Right.
your book. So unless
Right.
you're,
Right.
so like it's one of those things where it's just the time and effort that it requires to get these stores to put your shit in, to put your stuff in their stores. It's not there.
Right.
Okay. The big thing right now, I feel, is getting stuff out there online. And so, yeah, we've got Kickstarter, we've got Indiegogo, but I do think that what we also need to start doing is creating, as Meredith said, these websites where you have online stores and you have this online presence where people can shop at, because let's face it, there's no guarantee that anything opens back up here this year. There really isn't.
True.
Like we're having another spike of this craziness. Everything seems to be going to hell in a handbasket every fucking day that we get closer to 2021. So it's just one of those things where there is no certainty. So
Sorry, where do you live? Where are you at?
I live in the DC metro area.
Okay, cool. I used to be out there.
Yeah.
Mike, guys, just hold up a second. John, you want to say something?
Yeah, because I'm gonna have to bug out at 9:00.
Okay.
I did small publishing back in the 90s, also with direct, through Ingram and Baker and Taylor, doing mystery novels and writing things of that sort. You still and I've gone through this where you try to bring people in and do that. Right now, the reality that we have to face is that it's going to be a different reality than what we're thinking about last week. Okay, that's all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I would say at this particular time, we'll all be doing pretty much the same thing, which is have an online presence with PDFs would make it as cheap as possible for readers to taste you. I don't mean just have pages. Give them full content, and then and just build on that, because at some point people will be able to say, okay, I could spend more than $1 or $2 for this. This piece of entertainment, because it's not a necessity. We all that's the thing. We feel it's necessary, but they if you got to choose between one thing or another, you'll go for the food than anything else. Okay, so this is where I'm going with this, because I do not know what the world is going to be, but I do know that I can have a relationship with my reader, and that's the most important thing.
Yes, sir.
Is that, and then go from there, because they'll remember you more than they will remember to a title. They want to help. If you want people to support you, then you have to be the person that they want to support, and that means an online presence, but it also means to give them something of value, and then they will follow you. But give them something that they don't feel that you're ripping them off with.
Right.
Price wise or whatever. So, and then again, but it means more than just doing ads or anything like that. It is giving them something for free in terms of value on social media, whether it be information. You go and look at my YouTube channel, and you'll see all of the videos that I've done on animation and cartooning, and it's all free. There's a relationship there. On Instagram, I'll be posting pages showing what I'm doing, a sample, little lessons on how to handle things, and so on and so forth. Same thing with Facebook, and that's how it really. We all have to think about that as where we're going to have our best interaction, because none of us is going to be DC or Marvel in terms of personality, in terms of being able to get audiences. But if you get people who want to support you as a creator, that's what I think we all should be strengthening or developing over the next 6 to a year, really.
No, I agree.
So,
Yeah,
100%.
that's old man talk. So there you go.
Well,
So
I actually,
but
Listen,
go ahead.
James, hold on, Meredith, what were we gonna say?
yeah, I was going to say, I wanted to piggyback off of John a little bit. The PDFs are a great gateway, especially if you're building your social media, for people to see what you're doing and what kind of person you are. Because if you're a jerk, they don't have any reason to seek you out when the cons do open. You know, so get it in their hands, make them interested, let them know who you are, how accessible you are, you know, and then when the world opens up, maybe they'll actually seek you out. Maybe they're going to be, you're going to be on their budget list when it's time to go and visit and buy a book.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think we beat this subject up enough.
You think?
Okay.
I mean, we could go further, but okay.
Yeah. No. Listen, there are how many New Yorkers are here? Raise your hands. I was born in Brooklyn.
Oh, nice. Where in Brooklyn, John?
Bensonhurst.
East Elmhurst means
You're right here.
the heart of Latinos in New York City, right here, man.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I don't think JD counts me as New York though, because I was upstate.
Yeah, Meredith, I don't count that either. I'm sorry.
I just couldn't raise my hands. I'm sorry.
You know,
Just raise your eyebrow, brother. It's all good.
Oh, there you go.
There they go.
Smile.
American Anti-Defamation League headquarters. So that's where I grew up, across from the 1717 Club, which is no longer in existence, but one of the local hangouts. You know. Anyway, so there you go.
Nice.
That's my
good advice, though. Good advice.
Having to that's my area. That's where I grew up, and I left there in 1977. So I was like 27 years old, and that was.
Nice.
I was born in 75. Wow, you're going deep, brother.
Yeah, I'm
71 here, man.
71.
I'm sure I didn't.
Remember, we're Gen Xers.
Okay, guys, take care.
Thank you for your insight, John. Appreciate that.
Thanks very much. Be safe, man. Be safe.
Yeah, thank you, John. I'll talk to you a little bit later.
All right, so guys, look, like I said, I think we beat the hell out of that subject, so we can move on. So look, I got another question. It's in the exact opposite of that last question. All right.
Okay.
So here's the question. I'll give an example. You know, when I'm done asking the question, where do you find your ideas, or where do you recharge your creative battery? Okay. So for me, I haven't done this recently, but it was back in the day. I have books, very specific books. I have a book called The Encyclopedia of Things That Never Were. Okay, I don't know if you guys ever heard of that book, but sometimes I would, if I was short of ideas, I would pull that book out and I would flip to a random page and I would be like, okay, here's a thing on some godforsaken, you know, some deity that's been forgotten in time, and I'll find a paragraph about it and I'll read it and I'll construct a story around that. Okay. Like as a challenge to myself. Okay. So that's what I would do. Sometimes if I want to like recharge my battery and I watch a movie, I'll watch Legend, I'll watch Labyrinth, I'll watch Dune. You know, I'll do that sort of thing. You understand? I'll do that sort of thing. So that's what I do. All right. So let's start with Lewis at the bottom. So Lewis, what do you do to either recharge your battery or, you know, maybe get those creative juices going? What do you do?
I leave things alone for a while. I walk away from it, roll away from it, and then come back to it.
Right.
And if that doesn't work, then I start a new project. That's just my thing. And I think I'm done here. Next.
Damn, Lewis.
The man's to the point, man. He's to the point.
Yeah.
Seriously. No, but I mean, but Lewis has like a fantastic imagination, man. I mean, when I interviewed him, he told me about some stuff and I was like, poof. I was like, dude, I'm taking notes. You're getting ripped off. Sorry. You understand? I mean, it was just good stuff, man. I mean, you know, just
I actually
awesome
started it,
stuff.
you know.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had to look.
Yeah,
and see,
I just finished it.
I had to I had to look to see if it's if the public domain was legal or not.
Mhm.
Can I get away with it? And it just so happens I can.
Nice.
Nice.
With what now?
Jekyll and Hyde. Basically, instead of Jekyll and Hyde being one person, Jekyll is the mother, Hyde is her son. She's a geneticist trying to come up with a cure for his disability.
And you're saying Jekyll and Hyde just became public domain?
No, it's been public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say that's
But I wanted to know if I can change it up if I would get in trouble.
Oh
And
no.
it just so happens I won't.
Not if it's in public domain. You
Yeah.
get that's why it's in public domain. It's to be played with.
Yeah,
Right.
so I'm
That's
playing
it.
along with that.
Yeah.
I'm having fun with it so far.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. Joe, what do you do? I can see his face.
For recharge? Yeah, I made it back in. I made it back in the house. So I'm about to get ready to switch over to the laptop here in a second. But what I do for recharge is just think about life in general. You'd be surprised. Reality is stranger than fiction. You could come up with good stories just by thinking about what happened in reality and just do a different spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I would sit there and be like watching like game shows or just regular television, this, that, and the other. And I would think about, you know what? My friend over here told me about this story about what happened to him. It's like, you know what? That could be used in another story. And if I twist it like this, I can make something good out of it.
Mm-hmm. True.
And then you could sit back and, you know, look at everything that you have read and everything that you have done up to this point and see, like, what is the twist or the turn that you haven't done or haven't seen on it? And how can you make that universe completely different and unique where you're not really infringing on anybody's IP? Because, again, nothing is truly original anymore. It's like, unless you find something that has not been completely done, you're not going to find something completely original.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everything's a shadow of a shadow, so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found a way around that. Well, unless you add a person with physical disability, you can have more fun with them.
This is true.
Oh my God, the physical disability people are always so selfish, Louis.
You know what I'm saying, bro? I can't stand them, bro.
Gotta take from what you know, man. You gotta
can't stand
Alrighty
people in wheelchairs.
We're going there.
I want everybody here to know, don't let Louis fool you. He is a hustler. He gets out there and he is Meredith. He is one of the best networkers I know. Okay, he does his thing. You go. Sorry to keep bringing up cons again, but you go to New York Comic Con. He is there every day at everyone's booth, talking, smiling, and leaves everyone with remembering his name. Louis is the freaking man.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, brother.
Jay. That's how I met Jay.
Yeah. Rolled up on me.
Ever since, man.
Yeah, brother.
He rolled up on you. That's funny.
I did drive by.
So, James, how do you recharge your batteries, or what do you do
creatively? Well, actually, I would before the whole COVID thing, I used to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art a lot just to chill down, sketch the paintings and the statues and everything. But also, like Louis, I look at just regular life. And the one thing that's actually helped me the last couple of years has actually, because I go regardless, especially since I got married and everything, go visit my family and my wife, my kids in the Philippines. I go there for that for a month, and I just experience just life over there, and that kind of that charges me up a lot. But also just taken from life generally. I mean, Sarah, for example, was an offshoot of an idea I was working on originally for this character, and I just didn't know where to go with it. And I put that aside, started sketching on some other stuff just for fun, and I started liking that more, and eventually became Sarah. And I've been working on that project ever since. And I mean, to recharge, for me, basically, to recharge is just will do various things, from going to the museum, watching TV. I mean, I watch the news constantly. Ask my wife, believe me, she gets tired of me watching MSNBC freaking much all day on TYT. But yeah, I mean, I get inspired from everything. dreams I've had, stuff I see outside my window. They have no like specific.
All right. Cool.
Thing
Okay, that should be better.
makes me recharge.
Yes, that's much better.
And other than maybe occasionally buying some chicken and broccoli from the local Chinese place I love to eat. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I find inspiration from pretty much everywhere. Wife and kids helps a lot, at least on my end. So that's always me there.
One of the things that I also used to recharge is I ask myself a question, and if that question gives me an answer, then I'll run with a story. It might sound crazy, but I can get away with it because I'm handicapped. But it actually works. Like the fuel of life, I just asked myself a simple question: what if our blood was used on an alien ship as fuel? To us, it's something that makes us live, but that's just human standards. What if an alien needs our blood to sustain their ship, to make it travel? And that's how I get things rolling from there. I don't know. It sounds crazy, but yeah.
What if our blood was their crack cocaine?
Yeah.
Go
there, but yeah.
Do you guys remember the movie I Come in Peace?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's that, yeah.
Although they changed it now, it's called Dark Angel now.
Oh.
Either way,
I didn't know
they use CDs as the weapon, so cheap
that.
cheap special effects.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so Meredith, where do you come up with? How do you recharge your battery or like come up with your ideas? What do you do?
I love what Lewis said. Shut down. Turn it off. Go outside. That's what I do. I love to. I love when the electricity goes out, actually, because it's like the forced day off. But then I have my notebook and I go out, if the weather permits, I go for a walk, try to get in touch with nature and stuff like that. But just the idea of unplugging, don't even look at your phone, don't get connected to the internet and things like that. And just sit and listen, to your surroundings, listen to some of the conversations that are happening. If you happen to be out and about, but for me, a lot of times the stories is I have a lot of bloodletting in my head. So instead of letting the beast out, because I don't have time for jail, I write it down.
You don't have time for jail.
I don't have time for jail.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I write it down. And there are times when I've woken up in the middle of the night because there was a line, just like one line of dialogue that just kept repeating and repeating. And I was like, all right, I'm getting up. And then before you know it, I'm writing like 1,500 words of prose. So, not a lot of sleep, but to actually wake up and listen to that and go, oh, okay, I need to write that down, because you never remember when you say, I'm just going to go back to sleep. I'll remember it later. No, write it down now. So, but there have been times also where I kind of wrote myself into a corner, and no matter how I tried to go around this one situation, I said, how am I going to get past this? And I couldn't do it. And then it took about 3 weeks of suffering.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I woke up and I was like, I don't even need it. Chop it out. And then it was fine, so getting that editor's eye too. I don't know if that's different with the artist brain and the writer brain, though.
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, I have a bit of a writer brain when it comes to like writing the stories I'm writing, but it's more because I've like run the story in my head so many times. I will like make some minor adjustments. I know the story I had for Sarah earlier on is slightly different than it is now. I mean, I feel I've improved on it. I built upon it. I always liken, at least my way of thinking, to how like J.R. Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings, where he would write like a couple of pages, read it, this sucks, start again. It's almost like waves coming onto the beach, little by little by little. At least that's how my mind works. And I mean, JD has known me long enough that my mind is constantly working. Everything. I mean, I've had guys. Do you remember like Carl and Sean, those guys? They once asked me just to rework one of their stories. And I've been given like premises, and I just come up with stuff out of there. But I mean, from my own personal stuff, I've done it more like that, where it's just slowly builds on top of each other, and I eventually get to the idea where it's okay, this works, this makes more sense, and I mean, I know it's maybe different for everybody else, but that's just how my mind works. And but yeah, so
All right. That's cool. So Michael, what do you do?
Ah, man. I have a whole bunch of things that I do. Generally, whenever I start a project, I create a playlist of music that I associate with things during a project. And so, like, what the first big thing I'll do is I'll listen like when I'm trying to get creative juices going, when I'm trying to write my scripts or what have you, I will start listening to songs with the in that playlist, and then when one of those resonates, I put it on loop, and I just start writing, and I just don't pay attention to anything, and I just focus on writing. But when I hit that like effectively creative wall, you know, there's a whole bunch like I'll kind of just step back and I'll do other things. I'm constantly coming up with shit in my head, so I'll be either writing down ideas for new concepts, or I also dabble in art. So like I'll go and I'll draw for a bit, and I'll just focus on doing that stuff for a while, and then all of a sudden something will go off in my head that'll be like go back to this story and work on these things, and then that'll be what I like. What I'll do is just everyone's brain works a little bit different, and that's just how mine does. It's those are like the big things that I do. Is it's just either if I either ride the music through stuff, or I just set it down. I focus on something else, and then eventually my mind will effectively restart like a computer, and all of a sudden there'll be new progress.
All right, that sounds cool. Jay, Mr. J, how do you work? How do you work your 40-odd books there, sir?
You know, a little bit of what everybody's saying. You know,
That's very unoriginal. That's very
on
unoriginal, sir.
Well, nothing is original, right? When you look at writing, there's only about 37
very
dramatic
politically
narratives,
astute.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know, it goes beyond the man versus man stuff like that, right?
Right.
So when you take those 37 dramatic narratives, it's how do you put that spin on it? How do you put it through the Mad Libs blender, right? How do you take protagonist one, antagonist one, you know, dramatic conflict? How does it wrap up at the end? That's everybody's thing, right? But you never know when this inspiration is gonna hit you. You could be sleeping, like Meredith said. You could be in the shower. I don't know how many times I've run out, you know, with a towel around my waist where I got to type something down. If I'm in the street, I constantly got these guys plugged in, and it's always, you know, I click it. Hey Siri, take a note. And funny enough, dictation never really works that well. So she spins out something different than I spoke into it. So I got a new story that I could put to the side for later on, you know? It sounds like a joke, but it's the absolute truth.
No, we're all laughing because it's happened to us. That's what it is.
Right? How many cool
Reality
new
is weirder
fantasy
than
words? You're like,
fictional.
oh my God, I never would have thought about that. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I got one villain's name who's OB Jin. That's because Siri picked up a conversation with me at home, and you know the oh my God, the gynecologist, you know, with the missus, and if she hears it, she's gonna beat my ass.
Lord OB.
I got that right away.
I saw you laughing.
I was expecting Star Wars. I was like, all right,
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
But
Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon
right?
are coming together, and then once you said and then you said go into the
OB-Jin, because you know
like,
you say GYN, but it says, you know. So, anyways, whatever. It's semantics with that. But
I love the name though. Name works. I like that.
It does. I know.
It does.
So there's
now that it's out in the ether.
You know what?
The next Star Trek, or not Star Trek, Star Wars that pops up animated. Yep.
The crazy thing right now is just you mentioning that name. I already have a visualization in my head what the villain would look like.
Not what I got. I'll tell you that. But no. So when it comes to recharging, I want to go back to the missus a second, and she's it for me, right? She sees me day in and day out, and she sees I can't turn this off on a regular basis. It's constantly rolling. So, we check out, we take off, we go somewhere, and she makes sure that I don't look at the phone. She makes sure that when I got that blank stare and she knows that the gears are turning, she'll engage me in a different conversation to get me out of it. And that way, when I get home, I can, go back to work if I have the time to, or if I want to. But there was something I read a while back, and I forgot who said it, but the concept was never finish the paragraph before you go to bed, right? Leave it halfway done, so that way when you come back to it the next day, you still got the gears rolling from where you left it off at. You're not thinking how they got to step 2 or step 3. You're in the middle of step 1, so that
Right.
ball is rolling a hell of a lot more easier, and it helps you get to step 2 or step 3. So that's just some of my stuff.
No, that's cool. I mean, I also heard this other effort where I think some screenwriter, I forget his name, he said that when you get the inspiration or whatever is in your mind, just write the whole thing out in one shot, errors and all, put away, take a step back, come back to it like a week later, hit it again, and then you can start doing any editing you want to do.
Yeah. I've written stuff where I've just written it and I haven't looked at it for months, and I just have a pile of stuff. I just write it, I just set it to the side. I say I'll be back later, guys, and I'll come back like 6 months later and I'll look at it. All right.
Yeah.
So hold on, Randy, what do you do?
Well, I work commercially as well as creatively. So a lot of times my most creative moments come in my most mundane of tasks. When I'm sitting here weeding vinyl or printing a shirt or whatever, and suddenly it like hits you right out of the blue. I always keep a set of sketch pads, or not sketch pads, but spiral notebooks around to keep notes in. And I have them labeled for different things. So sometimes I'm taking 5 minutes out scrambling, looking all over the house for the last notebook on the thing that I want to make the note in. But my commercial work is all in one notebook, and then I have other creative projects that are in that spiral book, and I'll date it, real fast and write it down. I've had it whenever I've had a creative problem in writing. If I go to bed with the problem, I seem to always wake up with the solution.
Nice.
Cool.
It's the way it works, whether, however the mind works. If I'm writing comedy, I go to bed listening to comedy radio stations. If I'm writing dramatically, I get up on there's radio.com. I think that's the name of the app. There are apps out there that run science fiction shows on a regular basis, and they'll run like Star Treks and Next Generations for the deaf. You find them. I'm pretty sure it was radio.com. There's a science fiction channel. They'll run the X-1s and all of that. If I'm writing something science fiction, I'll sleep with that rolling just out on the air. A lot of times I got to have noise in order to sleep anyway. Very rarely do can I shut everything off and just drop off.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I got to have my podcast on when I go to sleep.
And if you
I can't go to bed.
Yeah, if you're waking up with the problem and with the solution, and it's not entirely there, take a shower. Because then start talking about the pieces while you're in the shower. A lot of times it'll plug together. I have woken up in the middle of the night and grabbed whatever sketchbook is handy and made notes, lots of notes.
Cool.
Yeah, I went to hop.
No, go ahead.
No, I went to dinner one time, and do we have enough time for a side story? If not, then I'll stop. Okay.
Go ahead.
Went to dinner one time with famous actor who plays a very famous horror character that's written by his best friend. Okay, we were sitting there talking during. I don't want to name names in case I get something wrong, but you know who everybody is. He says he goes out on long walks with this guy all the time. It's a writer friend of his, and they'll be out walking in the woods. Both of them are really good friends. Let's put it that way. They're out walking in the woods, and the writer guy will stop. They're talking conversation as they're walking. Writer guy will stop, and the other guy is still talking. He stops and he turns around, And he keeps this little spiral notebook in one of his pockets, wears button shirts with a pocket, pulls out the spiral notebook, pulls out a pen, starts scribbling, flip, flip. And he says sometimes he's there for 20 minutes, half an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
And all he is, and he's just furiously scribbling notes and flipping papers and all this. So sometimes he'll go through a whole notebook.
You got to feed that beast.
Yeah.
As soon as that's done, the notebook goes back in the pocket, the pen goes back in his pants pocket, and he picks up the conversation right where they left off. He says they do it. He does it to him constantly, and it throws it. It was eerie the first couple of times, so he got used to it. But it was really strange because that creative bolt just hit out of the blue. He had to get that bolt down. Once it was down, back to normal.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
it's almost like Tourette's. You gotta get it down.
Yes.
It hits you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing I do is occasionally is like when I come up with a concept, even if I don't have the story just yet, I gotta just write it. I'll make up a tentative title, just so I can have a frame of reference for later. You know, I have a half a notebook full of like different title ideas.
Yeah.
They may not mean anything to anybody else, but to me, it's more just to jog my memory. So, okay, that's what the story is about, and I go from there.
It never comes directly at you a lot. Most of the time, you can't sit there and go, okay, I'm going to do this. At least not for me. But when it comes to the creative part, you always get, you wake up with the bare bones and make some notes. You're having lunch and it smacks you, or I'm here. Like I said, I do sign work and apparel work, and I'm in the middle of the most mundane of jobs. And of course, your mind's wandering while you're working, and boom, it just slaps you, and you go, "Oh, well, of course. Where's that notebook?" You know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I work in retail, and Lord knows I want to escape from there.
Retail was always rough for me because you're sitting there. There's a difference between boredom and doing mundane work.
Right.
True.
You know,
it's even worse. It's worse when you're the manager.
Oh yeah,
I am.
Yeah. No, I can associate with that. It boredom. You're just sitting there, and your mind is just on a flat line. But when you're doing mundane stuff or work in the garage or where, you know, organizing your books or whatever, that your hands are busy while part of your brain is working, and your other creative side is sitting there waiting to be sparked. So I can do that. I love listening to old radio dramas, reading Audible, whatever you got to do in order to hit it. And I found a lot of really good inspiration lately, especially with the heroic, the heroic idea. I've been listening to a lot of Burroughs and Howard.
Nice.
Lately. All of that stuff's all available on YouTube.
Yeah.
To be read. You don't even have to subscribe to a site. They've got, I've listened, I think, to almost the entire Tarzan library lately, just Audible on YouTube.
Cool.
Yeah. And there are some great horror channels out there too that are reading a lot of the classic stuff. And like you were saying with Jekyll and Hyde, there's more and more of that material that's hitting public domain every year. So things are really moving. And right now, especially with the public domain line, because that's the pulp era. So there's some great stuff every year that's coming out.
The Shadow is going to be coming to public domain in like 2 or 3 years.
Well, there's a lot of really cool inspiration. There's a lot to be tapped there, especially when you look at the old science fiction pulps.
Yeah.
It just gets really, you know, a lot of that stuff's just, well, that was the big entertainment of the day before comics sprung up, was the pulp novels. So.
We looked into Zorro last year because it went public domain, but there's such a legal battle because there is a family that does say they own something and they're holding on to it, and then you got the Disney stuff. So, you know, some public domain IPs are wrapped up in so much litigation, it's really not even worth.
Well, a lot of times they want to stall you out too, because they want to try to drain as much money out of that IP as they possibly can. Look at the stuff that Sherlock Holmes had to go through. Right. And then that line is a wavy line set at a year. There's this anything referenced to Doyle's work after this point is not in public domain. And I think it's a little sliver of stuff, but when he was there's a lot of little creative parts in there that that can trip you up. And because the estate is always watching. They're looking for you to trip up.
So is that why
True.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did Mycroft, and you had this Enola Holmes things going because they're not directly Sherlock? They were just off to the left of it.
No, it's not that. It's just that they have to use a version of Sherlock that doesn't include those later tropes.
Okay.
It's like after he comes back from the dead, and there's a couple of little key things that the Holmes estate made sure it was in the court record. This happened, this happened, this happened. Well, if you do Sherlock Holmes, don't do the things that are in his last couple of short stories, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the estate still has their hands on it.
Right.
Same thing with like Wizard of Oz. If you go through and use Wizard of Oz, you have to be extremely careful not to use any type of visual from the MGM film.
Right.
And you'd be amazed at what that includes. That includes the witch putting letters in the sky, surrender Dorothy. That includes the use of ruby slippers because they're
Really?
silver in the book. Yeah, you really have to know your stuff if you're going to work off of public domain. I'm sure whoever's doing that with Jekyll and Hyde has read the Stevenson novel, or at least knows the material. I did an updating of War of the Worlds for Caliber. That was 5 parts. That's still available on Amazon. That was illustrated by a great German artist named Horace. That I took the novel and updated it 100 years. I couldn't do the radio drama. I could do the radio drama, but it would probably be questionable. Somebody might come out of the blue on the rights, and I couldn't use like anything from Marvel or from the Eternity books or anything like that. So I went back to the original source, and in fact found his notes at the Library of Illinois. I believe they've done a couple of annotated books on his works and have broken the entire novel down. It's a very fascinating textbook if you're into that kind of thing. But
What's it called?
I can't remember the annotated War of the Worlds is what it's called.
Okay.
It's like a $40. It's a textbook put out from the University of Illinois, because when Wells passed, he donated all of his papers to that university.
Oh wow!
I like the stories behind the story. That's interesting to me.
Anyway, we could talk that for a long time, but inspiration wise, that's how you get your inspiration, is you go and you do this kind of research. If you really want to do a space opera, you sure better know what the other elements in space opera have done in the past, because you don't want to even get marginally close. Look at the trouble that Discovery is currently into with the tardigrade idea. They had to switch that over to a human being, I guess, because the original monster was in a sci-fi book.
I thought the tardigrade was real.
Oh no! Well, it could be. Find a unicorn.
Okay.
All right. So guys, hold on.
Never say never.
Okay.
I got one last question before we wrap this up. And the person I want to ask this question to is to James, because he actually asked this question on the last podcast. So we're going to start with James. We're going to work our way through Meredith, Michael. Because I keep seeing Moden and it's freaking me out.
Dude, and Randy calls me Moden. Rob calls me Moden. It's all good.
Yeah. And then we'll work around to Lewis, Joe, and then back up to Jay and Randy. So, James, you asked this question, and I think I might have already asked Randy this question. Maybe I know Meredith no, and Lewis no, maybe Joe, maybe. But all right, but here's the question. What is your greatest achievement, or what is your greatest creative achievement of 2020?
For me, it was definitely.
I
know a lot of people hate me. You gotta see my employees. Anyways, no. For me, it would have to be the finally getting Sarah off the ground for me artistically. It's been something I've been wanting to do for such a long time that, in a sense, the pandemic kind of forced me to finally settle down, because I was so focused with the day job and commission this and stuff like that for Protect this and everything else, that Sarah got kind of lost in there. And it finally got me to refocus it and everything on that. And artistically, I feel I've gotten better, at least storytelling wise and visually for the book. That I am very happy with it. I mean, it's glad it's not published yet, but I'm far more happier with this iteration of the character than I did when the other guy, who I won't mention, and I were working on the book. Because in that situation, what was going on between he and myself, I lost the passion for the character. And it sucks when it's your own creation to lose a passion for, because you feel it's not yours anymore. Whereas now, artistically, I feel this is what I've always wanted to get done. This is a story how I wanted to tell it, and it's working out that way. So artistically, yes, that's that. Or for my personal artistic happiness, yes, that's my greatest achievement. Other than that, it's getting some more recognition through the work I've done for Upper Deck and everything else. But artistically, it would have to be Sarah being now the character and the book I want it to be.
All right, sounds good. Meredith, you're on the block.
Okay, I'm actually going to share a screen if I can.
Yeah, bring it up. I'll put it on.
All right, so this is the book that I'm working on, and it is the first one based on my
Nice.
story. So that's the first page, and then this is.
That looks really awesome.
Let me get it for it.
Yeah,
I like it.
So I mean, just that whole journey of actually getting in here, creating a script, because I'd never written a script for comic books before, and find just that journey. I was able to eke out something and then fix it. So then the journey of finding an artist who already had art that was kind of in line with my vision. And so, this is going to be 8 pages that is going into Terraformed Continuum.
nice.
Cool.
But, and when all is said and done, it's probably going to be like 24 pages. So I'm very excited about that. I was sick to my stomach by paying money for art for something that was like, I don't know where this is going, but let's just give it a try and see. Having a 2-page script that went into Luke Stone's book with Hybrid Sons of Gods, that is going to be in his trade paperback. So that technically is my very first comic book credit. So the fact that I'm actually getting stuff done and I'm waiting for deliverables, that is probably my biggest achievement this year.
All right, nice. The
Very
artwork
cool.
looks
Very
fantastic. I really like it.
That is Antonio Brandão. He is from Portugal.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Michael.
So I'm not gonna do the obvious one, which is getting my first book done, because I feel like that's too easy. But I don't know. I think I've been doing a lot of stuff prepping for the future of Nine Realms, and that's been really exciting. But I've also, the script for one of my next projects is probably one of my favorite. Like, there are 2 scripts for 2 different projects that I've been working on that I don't know which one I like more, but they're some of my favorite things that I've ever written. And for 2 completely different reasons. And so I'd say that those are probably my big creative achievements for this year. Was I got to do Elysian Fields, and we got the 0 issue out there and got it done. And it was great, but to have that experience instill the confidence in me to build and do even more and go and take a chance on these ideas and really come up with something that I think is going to wow people when we get it out there.
All right.
Cool. Very nice.
All right. Mr. Lewis, what's your big creative achievement for this year?
I don't know if it falls under creative achievement. It's more of seeing what I did years ago being published by an independent publisher, it's kind of like a dream come true, kind of.
Nice.
In
Nice.
terms of that, like it's weird that if I open up Barnes and Noble, it's up there.
Mm, nice.
It's so in terms of creative achievement, I don't know if that falls under that category. It is an achievement for me personally,
Yeah. That's
where
what,
I've
yeah.
always wanted to see my stuff being put out there, and whereas I'm not publishing it myself, someone else is, and I just found that so freaking cool, and it's been that first book is kind of like an addiction. It made me do another one, and so this Jekyll and Hyde that I'm doing now, it's also going to be my third one, but that's going to be purely a graphic novel.
Cool.
I'm not sure if I'll put it through Kickstarter or I'll just hand it to the publisher that I've worked with in the past, but I'm looking at maybe 72 to 90 something pages.
Cool.
And so the fact that like I said, I don't know if it falls on the creative achievement. I just find it as an achievement where that's what I've always wanted. That's what I've
that's
always
what it means, man.
pushed for.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's awesome. But my advice is go Kickstarter first and then give it to your publisher afterwards.
Yeah, that's what he and I were discussing that. Yeah, I threw him the outline. So yeah, we're in the we're gonna see what we do.
That's cool. Awesome,
Good.
bro.
Thank you.
Joe, so what's your big creative achievement this year?
For this year, being able to do something like this and be able to share it with staff here. Most people don't know that my flagship title, Amazonia, we just celebrated our 10th anniversary for that title.
Congratulations. Good.
And being able to have, like, most of my staff, like my editor did this version cover here. The colors did this one. Being able to share the wealth amongst, everybody. Being able to do like a homage cover like this as a whole. That's kind of like what I consider the greatest achievement, being able to have something there where you can share with everybody.
Nice. That's
Awesome.
cool.
It's awesome, man.
All right. Good job, Joe. So, Mr. J. So, what was your big creative achievement this year, bro?
Giving up. Giving up control, not micromanaging every step of the process. The missus is now the one lettering all the books. She's the one remastering the lettering on the book that I got going on right now on Kickstarter. And she doesn't communicate with me at all. She communicates with the editor, who is, a doctor here at SUNY, an English professor. So that brings me a little bit of, credibility on that end, but it allows me to focus more on the fun part, the dreaming part. And it allows me to set up for when whatever new comes up after we push through what's going on right now, but yeah, I'm a New Yorker, a chip on my shoulder, something I'm born with, right? And being, that person who has to just be on top of everything, it also throws your anxiety out of whack, right? And being a creator and an artist or a writer, whatever you want to call us, anxiety is also, thrown into the mix. So, New York anxiety is just that much more explosive. So learning to step back from it a little bit and let them work it out on their own. I don't want to say, George Foreman set it and forget it, right? But no, okay, this is what I did, and trusting the people that are working with me to make the product look better at the end of the day.
Cool.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. I don't think I'm quite at your level, but okay.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't. That's so like control. I don't think I can let go just yet.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I don't want to. I don't want to.
I agree. Believe it. I like you. Listen, New Yorker through and through.
Yeah.
I have a hard time not controlling what my creative stuff and there. It's like if I don't do it, I don't feel anybody else can. You know,
Right.
Right.
JD, you weren't at the convention I ran in New York. James, you were. If you saw me at all, I'm a fat dude, but I was running around like the Flash, man. I was all over the place.
You were like a freaking ghost. Was that him?
You know, talk about micromanaging an event as a promoter, brother.
But it went well.
So, Mr. Rosario, my question to you: that place was not wheelchair accessible? That you
Yes,
didn't invite me?
sir. It was.
That you did not invite me.
Not invite you.
Yeah.
I should have. I'm sorry. But yes, it was. I made sure it was wheelchair accessible.
Guys on here, do you know what I call Dave? I call him Mr. Cripple Hater. Every time at the con, I go up to, hey, Cripple Hater.
Wow.
He does.
Wow.
He does.
I do.
You know, I'm sorry. I feed into it, right? We talk the New York stuff. I push in that ignorant New Yorker, so that way, you know, I'm going at him. And he knows we know each other, right?
Yes.
We're looking at each other, and we're just feeding off of each other. But as people are passing by at the con, they're ready to kill me because they think I'm going after him. Yeah. So but that's how we do, man. You know, lose my guy, man. He had one dude come through to talk to me, and I thought he had heat with Lou, and I was ready to throw the guy at the convention, man.
So Louis, that's just a New Yorker in us, man.
That's it.
Yeah.
So Louis, I'm pretty sure you'll get invited to the next one.
Oh, if not, I'm going to use that speed bump.
See, I'm from the nice part of New York, okay? But I'm in Florida now, so you guys have fun.
Of New York.
New Yorkers are all nice. We're all nice. We just present it roughly.
Until you piss them off.
Yeah. So who had a question?
Me. When it comes to creating something, like for example, I have this habit where I don't sit down and write anything until it's in my head from beginning to end. Like I gotta live in that world.
Right.
I have to see the characters. I have to feel their voices and everything. Is that weird, or is that just me?
No.
That's weird. Everyone has their own process.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. Everybody has their own process.
I don't think. I think it's weird if somebody doesn't act out the stuff that they're trying to write down.
The reason why I asked is because I thought the government was going to start sending me another check after that.
You see, that's what he does to you. He sets you up. Lou also does stand up. If anybody doesn't know.
Oh yes,
that's true. He does. One thing I just want to show you guys really quickly, just because I had a chance to do this. So this is what Sarah's gonna look like.
Oh yeah,
nice. Good
for you. Yeah. And it's a new imprint called JM Comics. J for me, M for my wife. Her last name, her name is Mitzi. So I named it after my wife and myself. So
nice.
This is it. That's the feel for it.
That's a great cover, man.
Good. Good luck to you, man.
I'm doing the colors, doing the inking, doing everything myself.
Yeah.
Because
micromanaging.
I'm a New Yorker because I know what I'm doing.
Not just that. If something goes wrong, you know who to blame.
Exactly.
Yep. Exactly.
That's right.
My wife can tell you directly. Yeah, I know.
So,
my wife just tells me.
So Randy, what's your big creative achievement for the year?
For the year, probably starting my crowdfunding book.
Nice.
I mean that project that I've wanted to get to, and ever since I discovered that crowdfunding was actually a viable thing, I'm like, oh, I got to do that. That's got to get done. Whether anybody buys the thing or not, I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to sell it, and then whatever I make on it, but I will have said it, and that's what's important. And there's a lot out there to be said. I'm doing a history of comics.
Nice.
All the way from the start, all the way through the direct market, up through the crowdfunding and everything. That's why I'm really frustrated sometimes about getting it done, because I seem to be moving at a snail's pace, and the goal keeps shifting because so much stuff keeps happening.
Do you consider dime store novels like an early form of what pulp became, or no?
I'm on page 37, 38. I'm on page 38. I just got to Wonder Woman. But anyway, yes, everything was a evolutionary step.
Okay.
And it's an amazing chain. I could talk about. Stop me, JD, from talking too much. I can talk about this for hours. Comics are a chain. The entire art form is a chain. It springs out of editorial cartoons that turns into funnies, that turns into because of the pulp influence, turns into the adventure comic strip. Those comic strips get thrown together into a book, turns into a comic book, original material comes out, and the entire history of comics is like that. Boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Just one great big, either that or a line of sausages, because every time somebody creatively gets clipped, a new sausage starts. Somebody figures out a way to get around this and evolve the art form. And you see that time after time, and it does it. This art form is amazing because of how much it's already endured. That's why I want to tell the history and how it's evolved over the years and where that evolution should take us. Not where we're going, but where we need to go really bad.
Right.
That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea behind the book. But I have a graph that shows the history of comics by one of those connecting things. This starts these two starts this links back to that comes over to here, and it's really an amazing bunch of jumps. Like I said, JD, stop me if I go too far.
A few more minutes. Go ahead.
Max Gaines is part of National. He screws Siegel and Schuster really bad on Superman. He gets out. He sells his stock early on. Is rich. Not long after he sells that company, dies in a boating accident. All the money goes to his son. His son is Bill Gaines. He also inherits Max's printing company at the time. He was printing a book because he realized the power of he made his life off of comics in a very short period of time too. When you sit and look at the timeline in general, he had a company that printed picture stories from the Bible, and it's probably the most reprinted comic in all of history because it went around the world. And he did multiple reprints multiple times. Nobody will ever really know the exact number of that is, but he printed it under an educational comics banner. His son inherits all of his money, all of his companies, his printing endeavors, starts printing or picks up where his dad left off, starts printing books that he wants to read, does entertaining comics, uses the same logo on the book, big EC.
Yep.
He finds a bunch of talent that work for him. That they make some of the biggest selling books at the time, made a ton of money, it started Mad Magazine, did all of this. They run into problems because of the content on the books, because he's doing books that he wants to read. And so everybody's complaining. So he goes, well, you don't like the gore in the books now? Give me a minute. And he pumps the gore really hard. And he causes everybody to freak and causes the Senate hearings, and suddenly comics are juvenile delinquency. Not solely because of him. There was a couple of other projects that were going on at the time. Like there was another really big book that Charles Burrow did called Crime Does Not Pay that was selling millions of copies. And these books were selling millions. The numbers that we move today, literally probably 2 zeros behind what these guys were doing on a regular basis. Even though they were selling them for a dime, they were still making a lot of money because it's a lot of money back then. But the Comic Code Authority comes in, slams them. So they start magazines, and Mad Magazine starts, and there's all of this kerfluffle in comics literally stagnate as kiddies literature. Harvey Kurtzman, who is working for Gaines, decides to leave. Split up with Gaines. He did a lot of work for Mad Magazine's real. If you don't know Kurtzman, that's part of comics history you really need to know. Yep. Kurtzman goes out to the West Coast and starts a couple of magazines. One of them's Help, and the other one is Trump. Before Trump became big, he did it off of the card thing. But when he's working on Help, he finds all of these guys on the West Coast that are doing phenomenal comic book style work, phenomenal sequential work for themselves. They're just dinking around, and they love doing work, but they know they're never going to get a job at the mainstream because Marvel and DC at the point were really Well, Marvel hadn't formed yet, but the purse strings were real tight, and there was only certain types of books that you were able to do. Most of those were aimed at kids. So Kurtzman suggests to these guys, hey, you could probably print your own books, circulate them, figure out a way to get them out. And that starts the whole underground movement. And like I said, everything goes in such amazing links that the history of comics has always been fascinating to me. It is when you first start, it's a very small house, and you're seeing it spread open really wide today. And it's just so important out there that all of us as creatives just kick the freaking doors off of this art form and and send it on our way and make as much money we possibly can. It's so very important to do that.
Yep.
He's the Obi-Wan here, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I've been around a lot. So this is my passion. Comics gave me my sanity when I was a kid, and I've lived and breathed and I saw Star Wars just as I was graduating high school. That didn't pull me into films. I stayed with comics. I was that kid that was picked on in high school, and nowadays you won't get that. When you're in school, I was that oddball nut job that was the nerd kid that liked drawing comics.
I know, me too. I think all of us were.
Pretty much the absolute out. Well, times have changed so much. I love teaching cartooning after school to the latchkey kids because you see a lot and you learn a lot. That's how I found Rick and Morty, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway,
he found Rick and Morty because of kids.
I did. Some elementary school kid said, "If you watch Rick and Morty, you need to watch it. It's funny as hell." And I started watching. I'm like, what parents letting their elementary school kid watch this?
It's an adult cartoon, but it's fun.
And then after like 3 or 4 episodes, I'm like, well, despite the fact that he's a drunk bastard, he's actually teaching kids every aspect of quantum physics you could ever imagine. So these little kids now that are watching Rick and Morty are going to end up going to college knowing all of this, how all of this quantum physics work, and hopefully they'll end up outdoing, the big guys in their field because they bothered to watch Rick and Morty when they were in elementary school and took on string theory. It's amazing.
That's funny. The only thing we learned when we were kids was classical music.
Oh yeah.
See how that works?
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
We learned opera.
Yep.
That's
it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I remember What's Opera, Doc. I remember that one.
Yeah, everybody does. Yeah. And it's the Wabbit.
It is the
Wabbit. It's the
Wabbit.
Kill the Wabbit. Yeah.
Oh,
The Barbara Seville.
Yeah, Barbara Seville. That's right.
Yep.
But yeah, if you look at my commercial end, I'm really proud of the fact I was creative enough to stop having to look forward to unemployment. So I was able to shrug off that stupid, we call it Marvin here in our state. I'm from Michigan. So I'm just south of the Flint city limit.
Okay.
I'm 2 miles south of the lead line.
So, jeez.
Yeah, missed it by that much, but still experienced it. So there's nothing scarier than seeing the little sign that says a water pickup station.
Yeah.
And wonder where civilization is going.
Wow.
We had our 2020 back in 2014, so we're all good here.
Yeah. Governor.
Sorry to hear it, man. So guys, I'm gonna ask one of you to ask a question, and then I'm gonna give everybody 2 minutes to answer it, and then we're gonna do a wrap up, and then we're gonna go. All right. But I want to know who has a question. Just raise your hand. And just a general question for the entire panel. All right. So okay. Mr. Rosario is the brave one.
All right. We're all self-publishers, right?
Yeah.
We spend our own money to put out our own hard work.
Right.
Does anybody think that Boom Studios should have ran a crowdfunding campaign for a book that had a celebrity attachment to it?
All right. So everybody got 2 minutes to answer that question. Randy, you're first.
You start that timer.
I started.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And I'll tell you why. Because having him out there helped everybody else more than it helped Boom.
Okay.
because it drew attention to comics. It drew attention to crowdfunding. That's a real big key. And now, if any of these people want to keep snooping around, like there's the Expendables book out there that's Stallone endorsed and all of this. There are some, and there's other super great comics off of properties that they might not know. And hopefully, that's going to help expand the market. Crowdfunding's Wild West right now, and there is. I don't think there's a no to it. There are failed campaigns, but every campaign that's successful is a step up for the art form in general. You might not see it right away. You might, and you know, when I first looked at it, I thought the same thing. What the heck's Boom doing? They got money. Come on. Right. No, but that's exactly what it did. That little clip, that little film clip of Keanu Reeves going, comics are awesome. If this was not a pandemic year, and we were under lockdown when this crap was going on, you would have seen more people walk into a comic shop just to look off of that film getting out as much as possible. And they got some really good media coverage off of that book too, even if it's not spelled right, or they couldn't spell it right. Right? It's Keanu Reeves. That's what pulled it in. It wasn't Boom Studios either. It was Keanu Reeves. That pulled him in, and the product is solid enough because Boom knows, Garvey is an incredibly solid talent.
I love Ron.
Long time solid talent. They're not gonna lose with that book, and they know it. Now, on the negative side, on them doing that, they have to deliver those books, and those books are going to be later than getting the floppies at the comic shop. And by the time people figured out that bought into that campaign, they might not want that book.
All right, Randy, you can hit your 2 minutes. All right, so.
But yeah, good thing. Right now, Wild West.
Yep. So look, I'll answer the question. I think it was a good idea of them doing it. Because like he says, rising tide, all boats. I heard a lot of people, if they were on that bottom sheet where they got picked out, they got some extra cash out of that for their campaigns, which is good. I think attention the medium gets, especially, I know it's a little far-fetched to call Keanu Reeves and Boom an indie company and an indie book.
Right,
but technically, technically they are and technically they aren't. It depends where you sit.
Top 5 publisher, bro.
Yeah, I only consider Marvel and DC because you got to understand when you say top 5 publisher, you're talking 2% of the industry.
Of course, but they're still bringing in, they're valued at almost $25 million, something like that.
Somewhere around there,
yeah. But that just goes to show you,
being valued and getting that money.
Yeah, understood. Yes.
IDW's got some value to it too, but have you seen their last year or 2 years of financial statements?
No.
Yeah, not good. This is a G.I. Joe book. No.
Yep. But anyway, that's where I'm at with it.
Sorry.
Okay.
We'll move over to Mr. Loden. How you doing?
So I personally think that they were well within their rights to do it. I think that it is a smart business move. I know that it was as somebody that was a smaller name that was around during this point in time. It wasn't one of those things where you're like, damn it, another one of these big heads. But like every single person that's talked so far has touched on it. It's something like when a company like that, as you just established, that does have that, recognizes the legitimacy of crowdfunding. It takes eyes that would not be normally looking at our books and puts them on them. Because the moment that it's like, oh shit, these bigger companies are recognizing that the profits are in crowdfunding, well, what made them make that decision? Maybe I should start looking at these other books.
All right.
So that's good. Meredith, how do you feel about it?
I'm going to piggyback off of what these guys have said so far. I think it's a very good thing because it brought new eyeballs to a crowdfund platform that they might. I mean, there are a lot of people who are like, "What is this Kickstarter thing? What is this Indiegogo thing?" And it brought them in. So that brings a new influx of money where it doesn't feel like you're buying from each other all the time. But the other thing is that I noticed is that I'm seeing more mainstream news talking about comic books, which is a good thing, especially with some of the indie creators.
All right, cool. James, how do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, I didn't know that much about the whole situation. I mean, granted, when I did hear about it, I was thinking like first thing in my mind was like, why do they need why do they need crowdfunding for? They got the money. But you know, looking back at it, retrospecting everything, yeah, I mean, it does bring eyes to the indie field. The fact that most of us are going through Kickstarter, Indiegogo, what have you, the whole crowdfunding idea, and I agree. Whether you like it or not like it, it does bring eyes to the industry, to our art form, and it maybe opens up eyes to have never considered looking at indies before, or just know Marvel, DC, and that's pretty much it. They don't know anything about. I mean, yeah, I mean, we look at Boom, we don't look at them as an indie company, true, but to the mainstream people, I mean, people who are just the general folk, they don't see Boom as the big two. For them, Boom is indie, Image is indie, Dark Horse is indie.
Right.
So for them, it opens it up, and it does open up a couple more doors for us. Whether or not it makes you that you have to get like A-list celebrities to push your book is one thing, but at least it does open the eyes of the general public to the fact that there are other books out there besides Batman and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So that's a plus.
All right, that's cool. So, Joe, how do you feel about it?
I'm going to Gordon Gekko everybody right now. Greed is good. And the reason I have to say it that way because I'm actually part of a Kickstarter community that had actual individual benefit from it. And when I say benefit from it, I'm talking about a couple of $1,000s in backing just because they were on the recommended listing
Awesome.
for that particular campaign.
Good for you.
So again, people look at Boom Studios and don't realize that's just a company. That's not the project or product that's being solicited. That product is not 100% Boom Studios, but yet because Boom has a name, because Keanu Reeves has a name, anybody who is anywhere in shape or form in some 6 degree of separation to that project is going to have eyes, and they're probably going to end up with backers.
Nice.
It's just going to be just that. It's not something new. It's not something different. That's just the way marketing is. That's the way that sales are. It's like if you have any type of association to anything that catches the attention of the mainstream, you're going to see some effect one way or the other to the positive.
All right, that sounds good, Joe. Lewis, how do you feel about it?
I don't feel for it or against it. I just feel that if Boom did it, what stops the other major companies from doing it? And whereas that could overshadow indie publishers on crowdfunding, I don't know if you understand that. Like, crowdfunding is good for indie publishers, but Boom is in it now. And again, what stops the other major publishers from getting into it and kind of like kicking, not letting us be seen the way we should?
Yeah, that
I
is
don't
a
know if that
double-edged
makes sense.
sword. No. I kind of get that.
Exact same argument. Exact same argument could be used for the direct market.
True.
Because the direct market didn't start out with the big guys. It started out with the little guys getting their stuff out there to the retailers. They have picked up the big guys. The big guys abused that market because they figured out they didn't have to take returns. So all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, over the last 20, 30 years, you've seen their quality drop through the floor because they don't have to, everything that they can convince the retailers to pick up, they've sold. They don't have to be responsible for their content whatsoever. That's why you're getting what you're getting now. So.
Although funny thing, I work at Newberry Comics at the Palisades Mall, and we actually do returns. DC's actually sold us now that any books we have not sold over 4 months, we can just send back book and all.
That's DC. That just started
DC.
too.
Sure, exactly. So I think it started once they left Diamond.
Yeah.
So that's been a plus. So our buyer has been doing that. Everybody else so far, we only send back the covers.
Yeah.
The inside pages we still keep, but But yeah, so at least that's in a sense that's kind of good, at least on a retail sense.
See, you saw everybody pull away from the drugstore market and the big shot distributors, and lean right into that direct market really fast. The spiral rack disappeared.
Yeah.
Away from the drugstores because that direct market was up there, and the reason that attention went in that direction was because of that non-returnability. Because they were mad because they were watching the drugstores and really the distributors, not really the drugstores. The distributors were stripping their comics, the first third of the cover, to send to the big company for a full return, and then repackaging them in 3 and 5 packs, plastic packs, and selling them back out on the market, and because they didn't cut into anything that wasn't readable.
Right.
You know, they still. Oh, I did too. I mean, so great. You know, it was a great price point to get in, get a lot of comics real fast. Even though who cared if they didn't have all the cover? But a lot of the Marvel and DC didn't like that because they saw that as money wasted on their end.
So pulling out of the pharmacy stores, the corner stores, the bodegas, you think that was a bad thing?
Oh, not for Marvel and DC at the time. They thought they were doing a great thing because they didn't have to deal with the returns for one. Plus, they didn't have to deal with any type of income loss from people buying the scraps from the returns.
Right. All right. So let's get back to the question, Lewis. That's all right, Lewis. You have anything else to add to that?
No.
Okay. Cool. So, Jay.
Yeah.
You seem to. I mean, you asked the question. You look like you were going to be a contrarian to everybody here. I don't know if that's the case, but is it?
No, I mean it's like I love Kickstarter. You know, I use it on a regular basis. I'm a fan of Boom, but you know, is it drowning people out? But yes, people like Joe. You know, he benefited from being on the bottom line of it. Could it have been something like HasLabs? You know, that they crowdfund their bigger projects on their own. And is it going to be a harbinger for something that's going to happen in the future? You know, are they going to pull out of the direct market and start pre-funding their books on their own, you know, to subscribers? And what does that do for, you know, the direct market in the future if other publishers decide to do the same? I don't think it's just this one instance. You know, I think there's a lot of chess pieces involved in this.
You
know who did something similar to that?
Policies on the platforms that's stopping that happening as of right now.
I'm sorry, I know there's certain policies, but I mean, if they went to do their own thing like HasLabs, right? And going to reference Randy for a second, right? There's always a new link in the chain. Is Boom, by doing this, starting a new link in the chain for how things are going to be done in the future? Are they taking the old subscription modeled version and just putting a new spin on it for today's era of distribution?
You see, this is where the question came from. McFarlane, for example, he redid his Spawn first figure,
right?
And he went to Kickstarter for that,
right?
And he raised millions, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, I put into it,
okay,
because I want my Spawn,
but
again, he didn't really need to do that. You understand?
Right,
he has enough fan base that he could have done it without Kickstarter, in my opinion.
Sure. But again,
I agree that he could have done it without Kickstarter. But the big thing is that McFarlane was testing that, like, he has had his eyes on crowdfunding for a while, and the big thing about crowdfunding is that it cuts out the middleman and ensures that you are marketing to your consumer base. And that's what McFarlane wanted to use Kickstarter for, was that he wasn't paying to get it into stores and then stores sell it to the customers. It was shipping the toys directly to the consumer. And that's the whole thing, is that, you know, toy stores are in a decline, have been for years. So the best way for him to get his toys to his consumer base is how? I mean, yes, he has Spawn.com and everything, and they've got the back catalog of all of his figures and what have you. But if he wants to actually start putting out more figures again and kind of focus on that, I mean, the best way to do it is something like Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Again,
It just
greed
did.
is good.
It got
And yet-
everything that you need.
And not just that, but he saw it for what it becoming. Because
Mhm.
McFarland's, when it comes to business, he's been in the business long enough to know the business.
Yeah.
He sees Kickstarter not as just a way to make money, which he did, but he made more distance in advertising and marketing on that platform than he would have done spending millions of ads out into the market, because he drew
true.
attention,
Right.
not just to what he was doing, but the quality of what he was doing, the uniqueness of what he was doing, and the fact that he did it and it went into the media. That alone, Kickstarter is probably throwing their hands up and back reeling, because at the time before Berserker and McFarlane come out, Kickstarter was having a rough year and their numbers were dropping pretty hard. But they're doing good now. But the attention, again, just like with Berserker, that McFarlane pulled the Kickstarter. Not only that, when I saw that campaign, the first thing I thought, oh, McFarlane's still doing toys. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I never paid attention to it, but it brought my attention to it. I sat and watched his video and I went, that's a fucking awesome toy.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah,
That's a hell of a
Exactly.
deal. You're going to throw
Yeah,
this
I mean,
into. Hey, that's awesome.
Exactly. I mean, like Tupac's song, "All Eyes on Me," man.
All right, guys.
And like you said, it did cut out that middleman on this venture. Now, is he going to keep doing it? I couldn't tell you. He might do it once a year just because he doesn't want
No,
to
he's
throw
promoting
that money and to keep it special.
He's promoting his next one already.
Yeah,
His
I mean,
next kick. It's been about almost a year, about 9-10 months since he did it last time, right?
Yeah, this one
roughly.
took about 7-8 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you get your figure?
Recycle.
No, it's in the mail.
Oh, okay.
It's on its
you
way.
Yeah, he just did a
There you
video
go.
that showed like a couple of skids ready to go. He was ready
Yeah.
to send a couple of skids of the
Nice.
toys out to everybody.
That it's not just comics that are heading in that direction. Obviously.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're going to see a lot of toys, action figures, and stuff, because it's a direct marketing tool right to the
Yeah,
I got
to
an
the
action
customer
figure
and
line
pass
we're
it.
launching.
past the middleman. Yeah.
That dude right there, Mr. Rosario, right next to you. He's going to do a toy line, right?
Yep, we got our stuff tooling. Unfortunately, we just lost our project manager. He is overwhelmed, and because we are going to be kickstarting the stuff, and his cut comes out of that. Well, he's taking the more paid gigs first. So we got to look at something. But we're ready to go. We got our tooling, we got our prototypes, rock and roll, man.
nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
Let
All
me
right,
know
guys,
when.
we're gonna-
I'll put the
That's
money
like
in.
2/3 of the battle, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I want one, Jay.
I'm gonna make one just for you, bro.
If you need any extra incentives, let me know where I can help out.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. So, guys, we've been at this for a minute, so we're going to wrap it up. So I'm going to start with, we'll start with Joe. So, Joe, let everybody know where they can find you and find all your work.
You can find me on Facebook up under Joe D. McPhee, or up under the company name Exigency Studios. That's XIGENCY Studios. If you want to pick up our books in print, you can go out to our company website of exigencystudios.com. You can also find my artwork on Instagram up under Silbolt. That's SILV as in Victor BOLT, or on DeviantArt up under Silverbolt14.
Nice.
And don't forget about my YouTube channel, From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher.
Cool.
Lewis?
You can find me on Facebook under Lewis M. Cruz, Instagram, same thing, Twitter. Darkfire Press has a link to my work, and that's pretty much it.
All right, cool. We'll work our way up to Mr. Modem. Michael.
Oh, okay. It's my turn. Sorry. I am been a long day. All right. I'm Michael Loden. I'm the creator writer of Elysian Fields. We are currently live on both Indiegogo and Kickstarter for the Pyramid Gambit. Please check us out. We're funded and in demand on Indiegogo. We have 50 days left on the Kickstarter with the 2,500 goal. So jump in on that. Help us hit that. And thanks so much for the support. And thanks for having me on, JD. It's always a blast.
You listen, man, The door's always open for you.
Absolutely.
Meredith?
Yes, you guys can find me at Linktree. That's where I've put all of my links. Basically, it's linktr.ee/MEREJ99. I've got my website there. I've got all my social media where I blog. And yeah, you can cyberstalk me all you want to. Just don't peek in my windows.
James, where can they find you?
Okay, mostly I am, my name is James Rodriguez. I'm the creator artist for Sarah of Earth, which we'll be doing hopefully a Kickstarter sometime next year. But you can currently find me on Instagram at jrodart71. And I'm also open to commissions currently right now. I'm also assistant store manager at the Newberry Comics at the Palisade Central Mall. You can swing by there, say hi, and pick up a book. And I'm also a co-host of the Two Dudes, One Pod political podcast with my friend Anthony. We're on there, hopefully whenever we have a moment to do a podcast. And I'm also on Facebook under James Rodriguez. And what else? Oh, and just a quick shout out again to my wife and kids, Ania, Neo, and Mitzi. Hope you like the show. And everybody else, guys, you can always catch me on there. I'm also going to be hoping doing a YouTube channel eventually on stuff I do there. So mostly I'm Instagram right now, jrodart71.
All right, cool. Mr. J.
JD.
Mr. Rosario. There we go with that.
All right. So unstoppablecomics.com is our website. Unstoppable Comics on Facebook, Unstoppable Comics on Instagram. On Instagram myself, it's JV Unstoppable. Facebook, it's the name that's currently underneath you, JD Rosario. And I have a Kickstarter running right now for a graphic novel. And you could pick up pretty much our entire digital catalog, most of our books that we still have in print, a bunch of T-shirts, bunch of buttons, bunch of shot glasses, pint glasses, posters. We do all those little ancillary merchandise items on the original art, trading cards, all that stuff with our books.
Nice. Randy, where can they find you?
I'm Randy Zimmerman. You can find me on Facebook under Randy Zimmerman. I'm on Twitter under Randy Zim. Though I don't tweet very often, you can find me there under that. You can get a hold of me at randyjzim with 2 M's at gmail.com. If you want to reach me by email, or I also have a Zim Geek channel on YouTube that I run cartoon instruction and some comic commentary on occasionally. I don't put up videos very often, but when I do, it's over there because I'm part of the Indie Volt Radio Network. And I ran a show this morning called the Sunday Funnies that covers the lighter and more whimsical side of comics and comics related genre. We had an episode on the Undergrounds and anthology book that we're putting together through the Indie Volt Network called Indie Volt Revolt. Our main podcast is on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. That's all these times are Eastern Standard Time. And then we also do Breakfast Buzz on Thursday morning where we talk about comics and try to wake up at 9 a.m. on Thursdays. So, and there's other programming over at Indie Volt. You can always pop over to indievolt.com and hook up with Indie Volt Radio. Whenever we're not running podcasts, we're running some great alternative and independent music of all types of different genres.
Nice.
Cool.
Yep. Excellent place, guys. A lot of those Indie Volt, awesome people. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm JD Calderon. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter under JD Calderon. You can here on YouTube, and that's pretty much it. And go pick up your copies of the Oswald Chronicles on Indiegogo. So that's it for now. Thank you so much. I'll be talking to you all soon.
Thanks,
guys,
JD.
JD, thanks for having us on.
Thank you, JD.
Thanks for the invite. We'll be
Yep,
back.
thank you for being here. You're all awesome. I appreciate you. You guys are great. And go check out their books. We need more people to pick up more independent comics. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Take care, everybody.
My kids tuition.
All right,
My kids
take
tuition
care.
counts on
Nice
it.
meeting everybody.